I'm Brendan and I'm here with Mike Riley. We're your mortgage experts. And today we're going to be talking about a real fun topic. We're going to be talking about divorce and how it can affect your transactions.
So we get calls from people all the time that want to get mortgage loans, and we ask them a bunch of questions. It takes, 10 minutes or so. One of the questions that we ask people is, are you married? Some people tell us that they're separated. In Florida, though, unlike some other states, in Florida, somebody is either married or they're not. And that does matter, because if somebody is separated and they buy a primary residence in Florida, then they have to show up on the deed as a married person. And what that does is it alerts the general public that there may be somebody else out there that has an interest in the property because this person is married. Let's say that Jane is buying a house and she's married. Even if she's the only name on the deed, it would have to show up as Jane Smith, a married woman. That's to let the general public know that somebody else may have an interest in the property. Why? Because if you buy a primary residence while you're still legally married, and again, Florida only recognizes married or you're not. So if somebody is married, then your spouse may have an interest in the property that you buy. It doesn't mean they automatically do, but they could litigate it and they will often win. So you don't want to buy a house and find out 10 years later that your ex-spouse wants half the equity in the house, because they may win. So it's a very slippery slope there. Those conversations need to be had before you put the buyer in the car to go look at houses, because we don't want this coming up at closing. The other big part is that the spouse will have to sign some documents at closing. So even with an amicable divorce, some spouses don't want to sign papers for their soon-to-be ex-spouse. We need to find out up front, hey, is your ex-spouse going to cooperate? If we're told yes, then we tell our customer, that's great. That's great. They will have to be there at the closing to sign a few things. But the other part of it is there's 3 important documents at closing. One is the deed. So the person buying the house, they can be the only name on their deed, but the marital status, again, has to show on the deed. There's also the loan. In this example, obviously Jane Smith is the only one on the loan, so she's the only one signing the note, which is the loan. So that's fine too. This account will only show up on her credit report and nobody else's. But the third and final document is the most confusing, and that's called the mortgage. Most people think that the mortgage is the loan. The mortgage is not the loan. The note is the loan that only Jane is signing. The mortgage is the collateral document that places the house up as collateral for the loan. Works this way at every mortgage company. By Florida law, whoever may have an interest in the property, which in this case is the soon-to-be ex-spouse, they have to sign the mortgage paper at closing, giving their permission for the loan to be taken out on this house, because they have a potential interest on the property. So they're signing the permission slip, which is the mortgage, for somebody else, their soon-to-be ex-spouse, taking this loan out. Most people will say, yeah, I'll cooperate, but then they find out, oh, but I'm not signing the mortgage. I'm not going on the loan. Well, the mortgage is not the loan. I always ask people, do you have an attorney? Does your soon-to-be ex-spouse have an attorney? Because if so, the soon-to-be ex-spouse's attorney will verify that, oh yeah, it's okay for you to sign this. The mortgage is not the loan. One final thing, the note is a living instrument. That's the loan. Once somebody's on the loan, they're on the loan until the loan is paid off, however long that is. The mortgage is not a living instrument. It's a snapshot in time document. On this day, who might have an interest in the property, they have to sign that mortgage to give their permission for this loan to be taken out. All of this stuff has to be arranged before closing. And if you have a customer who says that they are married, but you've never met their spouse, it's worth saying, hey, I know that you haven't brought this up or anything, but your spouse will have to be at the closing to sign a few things. That's okay, right? And if they hem and haw or say, oh, that's going to be a problem, then we need to know that early instead of later, because it can kill the deal.
And divorce is such a bummer. And so we put the little baby goat on the screen. It looks like it's been hanging out with Snoop Dogg.
It does. So anyway, that's just a little bit about a bad topic. You are always welcome to call us with further questions about that. works this way with any mortgage company at any title company in the state of Florida. Mike and Brendan Riley, thanks for watching.